Howdy, howdy, and welcome to My Bloody Judy with your final forgets, myself, Zachary Patton Garcia.
And Ian Carlos Crawford.
Yeah, here we go, everybody. What are we doing today, Ian?
Hi, Zach.
Today,
How are you? We are here to talk about Bly Manor, which we both binge-watched over the weekend. So Zachary and I, our cycles have synced up so much that we text each other while watching the same episode. I think it was episode 5, wasn't it?
It was pretty impressive, wasn't it? I think we even took a break at the same time.
Yes, we did. We took breaks, and then I think I was like, "Oh, what episode are you on?" And you were like, "Episode 5," and I was like, "Wait, I'm also on episode 5."
Yeah, I mean, it works out that way, you know. When it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Bly Manor just came out. I wanted to have this little shindig out a little quicker, but here we are. And I as I was watching it, I was like, fuck, you know, we should have been doing episode by episode review, but the amount of time that would have taken, it's just insane. So here we are doing a series review instead. Overall thoughts, Ian, The Haunting of Bly Manor.
I think it took a minute for me to get. I'm not sure if it took the series a minute to get its footing or me to get my footing in the series, because I loved Hill House so much, but I did like it. I think overall I liked it. I enjoyed it. I appreciate seeing queer characters, and I like that it wasn't advertised that way. It's kind of just like, yep, also there's queer stuff. I really like that. Yeah, I wish it was a little bit more. I thought Hill House was a perfect balance with the very scary and also emotional impact.
Yeah.
I think this one was just a little bit slower, but that's okay. It doesn't make it bad. But yeah, what were your overall thoughts?
I loved it. I did. I really, really liked it. Also, you know, I've been waiting all year for something like this, just some sort of ghost gothic story set in a big manor house or something. I don't know. I'm really glad that I liked the story so much, because I did like the story a lot. You know, it's inevitable that everybody's going to compare this to Hill House. You know, when you look at them, even on Netflix, they're listed as two different series. So they are two different stories, but they are also in the same series, right?
Okay, yes. I was going to say, you can't, that's like saying, oh, well, you can't compare.
Can we cheat? We can cheat, Ian. We can cheat.
That's like saying you can't compare American Horror Story seasons because there's different, but it's still the same show.
It doesn't feel fair to compare them, though. Maybe I'll say that. It doesn't feel fair because they really are two separate entities, and Hill House was so good, and I think a lot of people's criticisms were that it did feel really slow, and they were also criticizing that it was advertised as a ghost story. You know, following Hill House, it was advertised as something similar to that. Yeah. And really what we have here is a gothic love story, you know?
As they say explicitly in the end, in case you didn't get it.
They do. Yeah, so the story, basically, to sum it all up really, really quickly so we don't have to do a recap, the series is being told as a story by an older woman at a wedding rehearsal. We don't know who that is yet, but we find out at the end. She tells the story of Danny, an American woman who travels to England in the 80s as an attempt to escape her past. She'd previously been engaged to a man, but her fiancé was accidentally hit and killed by a truck after she called off the engagement. So the ghost of Danny's fiancé follows her as she gets an au pair position for 2 children at the mysterious Bly Manor. And it is at Bly Manor that Danny and the children and the staff are all forced to face the ghosts of their past, along with the real ghosts that are haunting Bly Manor. So the narrative feels a little bit shaky sometimes,
Yes.
but I do think it holds up overall.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to mention that Mike Flanagan directed every episode of Hill House. And in this one, he only directed the first episode, and the rest were directed by other people. So maybe that's why it feels a little bit unsteady. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. So many shows, the showrunner does the first few seasons. I mean, to bring it back to Buffy, Joss Whedon did the first 5 seasons, and they're very cohesive stories.
Yeah.
And like 6 is when there's like not a cohesive story, and he's not there for every episode. So he was doing Angel and Firefly, and I think maybe a movie. So like, I feel like I get that, right? That's gonna happen, I think, and that's okay. That is, I think, it's okay for a show to like feel a little different with the showrunner not being in complete control. I don't know. I think there's nothing wrong
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah. No. I think it worked out okay. I think it came as an entire product. It came out well.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So, in terms of themes, what do you think? So, Hill House grief was a huge theme in Hill House, and I think the biggest theme for me that I took away from it was forgetting and the fear of being forgotten.
I was just about to say, please don't say love.
You know what? On my notes it says love and loss right after that. It is though. That's another theme. And then like reconciling with your past. That's also another theme. I don't know. What did you take away from it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, there was still a little bit of grief in there. I do wish. I'm a sucker for a grief story, so I wish we could have gotten a little bit more grief. Because it was there, it just wasn't the main focus. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, those kids, their parents died, then their fucking, au pair, babysitter, whatever died. And, like, those kids experience a lot of trauma and grief and loss. So I would have liked a little bit more of that. Then they find out the housekeeper's also dead. Like, she's been a ghost the whole time. Well, not the whole time, but, So I felt I would have liked a little bit more about grief, because especially since we do lose Danny in the end, it would have made sense. Like, it's kind of there, but it's not. But I do think, like, forgetting and being forgotten, I would say, are the main themes for me. That's like, Danny has to forget. She has to kind of get over what happened with her fiance, which is understandable. Like, she has the trauma from that. Like, he died literally right in front of her. And you called it, Zach. You said that you thought it was... Isn't that what you said you thought it was? Like headlights reflecting?
Glasses. Yeah.
And I like that. I always like the idea of someone needing to get over... Not like get over it, but like someone needing to move on. I like that. I always really like that. And I do appreciate... And that's why... Well, we'll get there. I was going to talk about that.
Well, no, I totally agree with that. So I think in Hill House, grief was such a heavy theme, and here there were so many there's so many pockets and like little places for grief to come into play, and they don't always like go there with it. Grief is like, just like you said, it's like briefly touched on here and there. Like, they did lose their parents, but we hear that they've had problems with that, and we don't really see it. We hear Hannah say a lot that Flora had a really hard time after Rebecca died,
Right.
but we don't really see that. So I don't know. There's a lot of telling, not enough showing, I guess. And grief is something that a lot of people relate to, and it would have been nice to see. I don't know, not to make it even more depressing, I guess. It was already a really depressing season.
I don't think grief needs to be... I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah.
Yeah, we got what we got. Yeah, as far as predictions, though, it's not really on our notes, but I guess we can touch on it really quickly. How many of your predictions do you think you were right about? 'Cause that's what we did when we watched the first episode. Is we made a bunch of predictions.
I was wrong about, I think, most things.
They were not all dead.
They were not all dead, but some of them were.
Yes.
I can't even remember what the fuck else I predicted, but I remember that was the thing that I was like, maybe they're all dead, but I was wrong. But Hannah was dead. You were right about the actress who played Theo being the lady in the water.
Yeah. I thought it was gonna be something different, though. I thought she was gonna be Rebecca. I thought the lady. So I was right, and I was also wrong, because I did think Rebecca was the lady in the lake. So going into these things, I said in our episode 1 recap that it's a show that's made to kind of stop, pause, go back, and make predictions, figure out those predictions if those are correct or not, and so you watch a first episode like this, and everybody's got speculations, everybody's got predictions for stuff like this, but I don't know. I mean, do you think it was predictable?
No, and I do think that's part of what made it so compelling.
Okay.
I think so. I mean, I brought American Horror Story. Like something like this, the reason for me that it works is because it is compelling, and you do want to unravel the mystery. Like I found myself looking up where the ghosts were because I fucking only saw like 2 in the background, but there were a lot. They were just a little bit more, not a little bit, a lot more hidden in this season than they were. And I think the fact that there was a mystery and I cared about it. I wanted to see where these characters ended up. I wanted to make sure, these characters didn't all die. I liked them. I wanted what was best for them. I think that says a lot about the show, that even if I'm like, this is moving slow, but I really want to know where this ends up and where it's going, that I'm still watching, and that I watched it in 2 days, 3 days.
Yeah, and a huge testament to that is the character. So you can elevate any type of show, movie, anything, if you have really likable characters. So, maybe the plot was a little bit shaky and unsteady, but these characters were solid, and I felt like these characters were fully realized characters. Most of them were. And we really did care about them. I had a really hard time letting them go, especially, our protagonist, Danny Clayton, played by Victoria Pedretti. You know what? I was trying to figure out who she reminded me of, and she reminds me of Brittany Murphy. I think her face looks very similar, which is maybe why I kind of like have a little bit of an attachment to her, because I had a very big attachment to Brittany Murphy when she died. I was like heartbroken, and I don't know, everything about Danny Clayton, like, from every reaction she made, every little like move she did, like she just, I don't know, she like pulled me in, and whenever she was upset and like hurting, it like really hurt me as well. Just that's a huge testament to Victoria's acting capabilities.
I mean, yeah, she's a really good actor. We saw that in season 1 as like she wasn't even the main character, but I think of that bent neck lady episode a lot, and like, man, when she realizes that it's her. And, like, she's falling, but her face is, like, she's dying, but her face is also like, fuck.
Yeah, 100%. And just I don't know, like, there's certain people, like, when you watch them act and they have to put on a sad scene. There's certain people who you can clearly tell are acting, and then there's, like, people like her, who's, her whole face breaks and falls apart, and we see it. And we see the buildup of it instead of just 0 to 100. And it's, fuck, like, it's her and Tania Miller, who played Hannah Gross. Those are my 2 favorite characters in the show, and my 2 favorite actors on the show.
Definitely, they're both like definitely great actors. Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Danny because she seemed like such a capable woman. Like, obviously she's battling these demons and she's got her own shit to put up with, but she's like, she got to take care of these kids. She's gonna take care of these kids, and I don't know, she just seems capable, and she seemed like,
and I might have been
I would trust her.
I might have been like, fuck these kids, I'm getting out of here.
And just
like, you seem to be dealing with a lot. I quit this job.
Yeah.
Good luck.
You're dealing with a lot. I'm dealing with a lot. I think this is kind of toxic. We might not be, the right fit for each other, Flora and Miles.
So bye.
Yeah. They lost their hot topic team.
I think that, like, Hannah Gross, the same way Danny was really likable, Hannah was likable, and that, like, she had like a welcoming energy and like vibe, and that's like a credit to her acting. Is that, like, you like that character? Like, I don't think you are questioning her. I think all of them, honestly. I mean, we didn't get enough of the gardener. What the hell's her name?
Jamie.
We didn't get enough of her, but I thought the other 3 like had immediately this like very nice energy to them, that like you were like, oh, these are people I like. These are nice people. I don't want them to die. I want them to make it out of this house alive. Before Jamie and Danny started to be romantically linked, I was like, ooh, Jamie's totally the one that's gonna die because she's the one that's getting the least screen time and kind of like not as developed. Totally thought she was going to be the one to die, but I was clearly incorrect. But yeah, and I liked that Hannah was loyal to the house. She was loyal to the kids. We saw her standing up to, what's his face? Hot guy.
Peter Quint.
Peter. We saw her standing up to
There you
Peter.
go.
And I don't know. I liked it. I liked that she was, and when she like tells Peter to give her back the necklace, she's just like, give me the necklace.
Yeah.
Like, she's not like arguing. She's not fighting. It's just, it is happening. You are doing it. You are listening to her.
She has that authority. I honestly, when they first introduced her and we first met her for like a little while, I did not know who she was in the house. I didn't know she was the housekeeper. I couldn't figure that out because she seemed like their nanny.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand what was going on there. Gosh, but like what a fucking performance those two gave. Fucking perfect. And like Hannah Gross, she was one of those characters that we got a lot from the actress, we got a lot from the writing, but I still didn't feel like we got enough. There were so many layers to Hannah, and we really only got to peel back, a few of them.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
She constantly left me wanting more, even though we got a full episode for her.
If we're being honest, I felt that way about both love stories. That like,
Okay.
we kind of didn't get enough of like the love we got. It was like, boop, suddenly these characters are in love. I felt like I needed a little bit more of like flirtation and like seeing them before it's like, these characters are in love.
I didn't mind Danny and Jamie, their love setup, but like with Owen and Hannah, it did feel like it was kind of just thrown on there. But you know what? I was all fucking about it too, and they took that one away from me also. I think it hit me when we heard them say, let's go to Paris. Let's just do it. And I was like, just go to Paris. Go to Paris. Do it. Take his hand, take his mustache, and go.
Get out of that spooky ass mansion and just go to Paris.
Oh, and then by the end of her episode, I'm like, she can't go to Paris.
You know what? That had me thinking. This is the thing I thought about. Do you think like Jamie and Owen were like, fuck, she was a ghost? How did we not know this?
Oh my God.
Like,
nobody really talked about it either. We didn't get any sort of conversation like, y'all know Hannah was a ghost? Hannah's a ghost, right?
I would
you knew
feel
that.
very silly if I found out I was doing my Bloody Judy with a ghost. If you were suddenly like, Ian,
on Zoom,
I'm actually a ghost. I've been dead for years. I would be like, how the fuck didn't I notice?
You know what? You've never met me in person. That's your tale. That's your tale. Right there.
These people met in person. They worked together.
Yeah, and I understand it's a show and we don't see everything. We're supposed to fill in the blanks too. But like, I would be there. I'd say, before we leave this driveway, can we all, somebody raise your hand? Who knew Hannah was a ghost?
Yeah.
Did
and is
anybody know that she's
ghost?
in the well? And it took them a while to go to the well to look at her. It took them till the next day. And then they're like, that's Hannah.
I feel like clearly Owen and Jamie left the property together, but I'd be like, Danny, are you also a ghost? Are these children ghosts?
Everybody here, raise your motherfucking hand if you are a ghost. If you are see-through, if you're gonna lose your face in the next 100 years, somebody just raise your hand.
Like, no worries. I just want to know. Want to make sure we're all,
Tired of getting disappointed by everybody, okay? Never gonna see Hannah again. Yeah. So, I mean, that leads into Owen, right? That's Hannah's love interest. Owen Sharma, played by Rahul Kohli?
Ooh, I think you got it.
Rahul. Yes, I think. I don't know. We've been trying to practice.
I liked him. He was in iZombie, a show which I think I've only watched 3 seasons of on Netflix. But he is also very charming on that and handsome, clearly, because he's
very
himself.
handsome.
But he's like very charming and handsome on that show, and he's like her partner.
Yeah.
And he's like very much this kind of guy on that show, where he's like the nice, a little bit like dorky, but like charming guy. And I think he's like just very likable.
Yeah. No, likable is the perfect word for him. I just felt like he was like the nice calm in the storm.
Yeah.
Like if any chaos was happening, he was the nice one to come in, and you just felt, just this group of 4, you just felt like everybody was they had the perfect role in this group of 4. Like you have a friend group and you need somebody for something, and everybody played their own little roles, and he was the calm of the storm, and I just wanted good things for him. I wanted him to have his great romance, and we didn't even get it. It was just awful. And then, so at the end, because clearly spoilers, Hannah's dead, so it's so in love with Hannah that 20 years from now he has a restaurant called the good place, or what is it? The butter place.
Wasn't it the batter?
Place.
I thought it was batter.
A batter place.
Yeah.
Something with food, on a play on a better place.
Because it was something he had said before, I think.
It's something like that. And there's like a picture of her like right there when you walk in. It's just fucking broke my heart, dude. Another great performance. I mean, everybody in this I felt gave.
You know, I do appreciate that. I feel like you and I have switched roles here because you're more emotional than I. Like I'm like, yes, that was sad. Okay. And you're like, oh, it broke my heart. And I'm like, it was a sad.
This is my relationship with Ian. I'm always telling you, like, it's okay. You'll be fine. Ian, you're fine. You're not that sad. No, this show like broke me. The ending broke me, and we'll get there. Next, we got Jamie, the gardener. She like popped. I feel like she popped in and out a lot.
Yeah.
She was a nice addition to our four.
Yes.
But it felt like at times she was really just there to push along Danny's storyline. And I don't know, like we could have used more of her.
I think those actors, because I said this to you when we were texting about it, that it did bother me that it was like suddenly, oops, they're holding hands. And it was like, wait, they didn't flirt at all. There was no, but a credit to their acting is that they did have really good chemistry. Once it was like, cool, they're here, we're going to do this. You know, when Danny went to her with coffee the next morning after she like jumped, but like she saw the ghost of her fiance. I liked that scene. I felt like that there was like a charm to it where like you've been there where it's like maybe you like knew you didn't act right. I mean, clearly it's not where we've all been there. We saw a ghost behind someone we were kissing, but you know what I mean? Where it's like you've been there where like you didn't like the way you acted, but you do like this person. So you're like, you're going to go to them and like do something nice and try to like be cute. I felt like I really liked that. And that was like very charming. I enjoyed
their cute moments. I enjoyed the moment where they were talking about the moonflower and they shared a kiss there. I enjoyed all of it. I do think it was kind of like the reality show house effect. So, you know, you in those reality shows where they're supposed to be together for a month, like Big Brother, just a show nobody needs to watch anymore. Let's cancel Big Brother. It's like in Big Brother, you get showmances. Like the people hook up in the house and it goes so fast because all they have to do is spend time together. And so I felt like, you know, this is kind of like that. It's like they don't have anything else to do but spend time together. And so I kind of rationalize it like that. But I mean, all of these romances hit really hard. But it's, you know, not an episode series, so whatever. Miles and Flora, the kids, played by Benjamin Evan Answorth and Emily B. Smith. Yeah, what'd you think about them?
Oh, they're good. I felt like at first I thought they were unbalanced, and I was like, this little girl's a little bit insufferable, but then it was all on purpose.
Made sense, yeah.
And I liked that. I really liked that it was like, oh no, she's supposed to sound insufferable because she's putting on a pretense of not being absolutely terrified in this spooky ass house. And the kids want to protect everyone. They don't want these people dying. And they know that these ghosts are very much ready to kill everyone in the house. Yeah. Or at least the lady in the water is. And the water. Don't make fun of my Jersey accent.
I don't know if I've never ever heard you say water before. Say it again. The water.
This is how I say it. You know, I never realized I had an accent until everyone in New York started pointing it out.
They got a fucking accent in New York, too. Y'all all got accents. The same damn accent.
Y'all all got accents.
Oh, y'all. No, those kids didn't annoy me as much as kids annoy me in movies and TV shows usually. Like, I cannot stand kids in entertainment. I don't know. The Dakota Fannings of the world are few and far between.
Well, especially in something that's like a little bit horror-y like this usually. Yeah. Because kids can be real hit or miss. And like, if these kids had been bad actors, it would have like flattened a lot of these scenes.
Yeah. But they were good actors. I really enjoyed them.
Yeah.
And Benjamin in particular, who played Miles, gosh, when Peter was taking over his body for the last time and we got that close-up of his like poor little face, just God, I'm already getting goosebumps. That is another moment in this show that broke me.
When their little bodies are dropping and it makes just like the little thump, I was like,
like, no. It was very. It was real. I'm gonna tear up already. Yeah, let's move on from the kids. Those little fuckers. Peter Quinton, Rebecca Jessel, Oliver Jackson Cohen, and Tahira.
Tahira Sharif.
Is that what we said? Yes. Okay. Yeah.
I thought it bothered me that if they had cut out the scene of him being really terrible to her, I would have liked it better. It would have made his character a little bit more nuanced. But we got that one scene of him being really terrible, and then it felt like
it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
It didn't hold any leverage in the context of the story. So I didn't understand why they put that in there, because then we're supposed to believe that he is a great guy just caught up by circumstance, right? But like, he was a total dick to her for nothing.
Well, but that's why I don't know that we're supposed to believe that, but I don't know what we're supposed to think of him. Because it's like when she sees him again and he's a ghost and she's like freaking out. It's like, this guy called you a whore for tasting someone's food. And I get there's toxic relationships and that's what this was, but it felt like we didn't get enough of that for her to immediately forgive him, because they only spent that, it was like those 2 nights together and then he left. And then he was dead. I don't know. And it felt a little bit like, I wish he hadn't had that outburst, because you could still be an asshole without having that outburst. And that felt like a little bit too, like, I felt like if he didn't have that outburst and he would have been more of a nuanced dickhead, where maybe you would have believed him when he's like freaking out. And you would have felt more bad for him. But like, I don't know, like all those scenes, like we saw him crying and it's like, dude, you're a dick. I don't care.
Yeah. And it sucks because I really like him as
he's
an
a good
actor.
Yes, he's a very good actor.
I like him as an actor a lot, and when he played Luke, like, that was another like heartbreaking performance, and it feels like he got demoted here, you know. I know we're supposed to care about this couple, and they're supposed to, like, Rebecca's supposed to play like such a huge important role in this show,
right?
And we hear about her constantly. Like, Hannah Gross cannot get over Rebecca Jessel, and we hear about her constantly, but then it just fell flat. And I didn't think the actress was bad, but I didn't think she had anything to do, really. Like, she had some ghosty moments, and she was supposed to be caught up with this, you know, bad boy that she loves. I don't know, I would have liked to see a little bit of Rebecca's backstory, because we saw, you know, the banging on the door, and then he would slip into his memory, but we didn't get her. We just saw her walk into it, and I guess it's supposed to be theater of the mind, right? We're just supposed to put that together, but I didn't know enough about her to put that together. We're supposed to care about this relationship a lot more than I did.
Yes.
Next up, Uncle Henry, played by Henry Thomas. It's just, my notes say meh.
I don't understand why we got that very weird scene. I was like, oh, he's dead. Oh, no, he's not. Oh, he just talks to himself. Okay.
Yeah. I guess devil on the shoulder, but like, it was weird and it felt shoved in there. I understand that they were, so the show is not just based on The Turn of the Screw, correct? It's based on a bunch of other works as well. The Ghosts, what you think of them?
I mean, I know you don't want to compare it to Hill House, but in Hill House it felt like all the ghosts had a little bit more purpose and agency and also evil to them. This was kind of like people that are dead that are like, oh shit, I'm dead. And like, don't. Did you see a lot of the ghosts? That's what I was wondering.
I saw a few of them. I did not notice as many as I did with Hill House, so I'm not sure that there were as many there. Because I think with the story, it's just the people that the Lady in the Lake created, right? There were no other ghosts that were already trapped there that we're supposed to know of.
But no, it's supposed to be a bunch of people died between that time. It's not like before her. It's after that. Because there's a voodoo doctor that's in the back. I looked up a thing.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Is everybody that came across her path.
No. Not that's the plague doctor you're thinking of. There's a voodoo doctor with a big top hat. That's a ghost in the background of a bunch of scenes.
Okay. Well, see, I missed it then.
But I saw him, but I kept thinking, I saw him once. There's like a staircase scene and you see a hat. But I thought it was like, I was like, oh, that looks like the Babadook. Like, I thought like it was just like a stand with a hat on it. I didn't realize it was a ghost.
Yeah.
But I remember because it looked like, do you remember in the Babadook when she goes to like the police station and she sees the coat hanger and she thinks it's him, but it's just a coat?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of. But apparently, and he's in a bunch of scenes. but that's not a character we see in the flashback episode.
Mm-hmm.
There's a soldier in a bunch of scenes.
The Lady of the Lake, I liked her. I enjoyed her setup a lot. Didn't mind the backstory, and then by the end, in that final episode, I just fucking hated her. Like I could not stand that fucking lady.
Well, I mean, I hated her in the beginning just because it was like, you want your family to go, you'd rather murder your sister and your family go broke than like them fucking sell this like jewelry you kept in a case.
She's played by Theo from Hill House. She's I don't know. She did good.
Who I gotta say she's got some good range. Because here she played like really mean,
yeah.
like heiress, and in Hill House she played like.
I wonder if she played every appearance we saw of the Lady in the Lake, or if they used like a stand-in.
You know, I was wondering that too, because I looked up on IMDb and it said she was only in one episode, but I know that we at least see her face acting in more than one episode. So I was like, this could just be wrong. It also said that Jamie was only on 3 episodes, and I know she's in more. So,
speaking of episodes, what's your favorite episode?
My favorite episode is episode 4, where like,
okay,
I think just because I'm such a sucker for grief, it's like Dani dealing with her grief and kind of being like, all right, motherfucker, let's do this. I'm gonna light your glasses on fire. We're gonna have this conversation. And I thought she had maybe one of the better backstories. Like I mean, we don't get really a lot of their backstories, but I liked her backstory. I liked also that it tied into her being queer. I mean, I don't know how she identifies, but you saw like the fear in her eyes. I liked the 80s flashbacks of them. We talked about this in the first episode, how they do a good job of making it the 80s without being like high camp. It's just like, it is the 80s. And okay, so there's an 80s song. They're wearing 80s outfits, but they're not like ridiculous.
They're not pointing out every like major thing that was in the 80s.
Yeah.
They're not like, oh, Atari.
Which I liked. I liked that. I liked all of that. I liked that we saw her mom was kind of a jerk. And that her fiance's mom was actually really welcoming to her, and that like kind of made her feel worse, right?
Yeah. I would have to say that is one of my favorite episodes. I think it's called The Way It Came. It was written by Liam Gavin, directed by Lori Penny. By the way, there were 6 female directors on this show out of the 9 episodes, so I thought that was pretty cool. And this is one of those. And you know, we're building up to Dani's past. You know, in the first 3 episodes, we get this ghost that keeps following her, and I really do enjoy that she kind of puts it to rest, and that we do sort of, without them explicitly telling us, like they kind of reveal to us that it's just her guilt. It's not maybe an actual ghost following her, and that she just has to, sometimes you gotta face your past, you gotta like put something to rest. She has a lot of guilt over her fiance dying, because she, in the episode, she grew up with that guy, right?
Yeah,
so they grew up kind of
friends,
together. Yeah, they were childhood friends, and they got together, and you know, she was really, really close with his family, like you said, and his mother loved her, and so it was almost expected for them to get married, and she kind of just went with it. And she even says, it felt like I was supposed to do something like this,
which was like a red flag.
Yeah, and she finally just tells him, like, I just, you know, I don't want to get married. And he takes it really hard, obviously, because, you know, you can't put him down for that.
Right.
And then
dies immediately.
They're having an argument in the car, and he gets out of the car, and I fucking knew it was going to happen.
As soon as they were like fighting in this car, I was like, oh, he's going to get hit by a car. Like,
yeah, because I'd been waiting because I knew that the ghost was probably him when we saw him, and so his glasses, because they were like lit up, I figured it was some sort of light reflected on them. And when I saw them in the car, same as you. I was like, you know, that's it. He gets out of the car, fucking gets slammed by a truck, and he dies at the hospital. And she is thrown into like fucking hell. Like this sorrow and guilt, and she blames herself. And then at the wake, she's seeing him in the mirror and has a freak out over it.
I thought that was such a good scene.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad, and it's horrible for her. But like, this is what happens with people who tend to like, it would be survivor's guilt. Would you classify that as survivor's guilt?
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah. So,
well, I think it's survivor's guilt, but also mixed with like, this is my fault guilt.
Yeah.
It's like a mixture, a perfect storm of terrible, like different guilt, and I like, yeah.
And she just can't get away from it. And she even leaves the fucking country to get away from it. She like, That I thought that was a really great scene too when his mom comes over after he's already
Yeah.
dead and like brings her a lasagna because it's her favorite, and it just I loved that they cared about her still.
Yes,
They,
and
like they she was
there was no point in which you were like, oh, the mom's actually secretly bad. Like I liked that the mom was just like this like loving mom, and she really did
Yeah.
like Danny like she was her own. And I thought that was a like a nuance that we don't often like. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times it's like
Yeah.
they want to make the parent bad, so that's why she's running away. But she's running away because this woman's so good to her, she can't
she
look
can't
at her.
physically handle it.
Yeah.
Exactly. She can't look at him and see what happened. And I feel like, and I could be just off super wrong about this, but I feel like even if Danny came out to that woman down the line and would have said something to her that it would have hurt, it would have stung a little bit, the woman might have been like, let me have a second, but I feel like she would have still embraced her and loved her. And I that's what I loved about his mother so much.
Well, the fact that she was taking time out, like clearly she's a grieving mother, but she's taking time out to be like, hey, Danny, I still care about you. Like, you're still part of the family. I want you to come to dinner. Like, she didn't have to do that. And that shows the type of person she is. I don't know. And I just really, I always like when a story does that kind of writing where it's, no one's really the bad guy here, but we're still uncomfortable. The characters are still feeling shitty. And I really like when there isn't like a definitive bad guy in a scenario like that.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. And you know, but like we said, like Danny just can't physically handle it because of her own guilt. She hasn't dealt with that. So she has to leave. She leaves without telling anybody and just books it to fucking England. And it's there, it's at Bly Manor that she finally comes to terms with this, and she takes because she has her fiance's glasses, because even the mother couldn't bear to hold on to them, and so Danny takes them. And I love that Danny, like, as soon as the mom said, I just can't bear to have them, like, Danny, even though she didn't want them, she took them immediately. And she said, okay, I'll take them. And I liked that. It was very nice, and it spoke to Danny's character. And Danny just, you know, she threw him in the fire. It's very ritualistic. She had to come to terms with that guilt. And, you know, it's this ghost that's been following her, you know, for however long now. And she keeps seeing him in the mirrors and stuff like that. When she throws him in the glasses, she sees him in front of her. And she says, what does she say? She says,
Doesn't she, like, when she puts him in the fire?
Yeah.
I think she just says, doesn't she say, like, so we're both here? Or here we are.
She's just like, it's like that point in somebody's recovery that they're just tired. They're fed up. They can't physically, like, deal with this anymore and carry this weight around with them anymore. And she's just like, so,
yeah,
it's just us. And she deals with her grief and her guilt, and she finally confronts it. And well, we don't see him after that. So I don't know. I just really
I think so. I go back and forth whether it was because the turning of the screw is about, like, is this woman seeing ghosts or is she not?
Yeah.
Clearly, we know the lady in the water is real, and like a lot of these ghosts are real. But I go back and forth whether that was supposed to be a total metaphor or whether it was a metaphor, but he was still really a ghost and it was there because ghosts exist in this universe. You know.
Mm-hmm. I don't think he was a ghost. I don't take it that way. And I think maybe if she would have become a ghost, that would be the memory that she keeps having to go back to, you know.
Yeah.
I don't see him as a physical ghost though, because we don't see him after that, and you can't really just put a ghost away. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe
you can't.
Can you put ghosts away? Have you seen them, Ian? Have you tried?
I mean, she goes to the bottom of the water and doesn't come back. She puts Lady in the Water away.
Put something away. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't take it that way. I also really enjoyed the Altar of the Dead, the episode right after that, and I know that a lot of people are like mixed on that one. But that's like all Hannah all the time. Loved it.
I feel like that was the episode everyone loved. That was the episode Twitter kept talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Who didn't like it then? Did you like it or no?
I liked it. I thought it was definitely a better episode. I do feel like it was a little bit of a redo of the Queen episode of Castle Rock. Castle Rock is not a show I liked. I thought it was pretty boring. But there's an episode called The Queen where is it Mia Farrow? No, Sissy Spacek. She plays the mother and she has dementia, but we learn that she is processing time differently because of this like weird. Basically, in Castle Rock, they needed to say they were on a hellmouth to explain everything because this town just had all these like weird things happening, but they don't really explain why. Maybe they do in season 2. I did not watch season 2. But it's basically she experiences time out of order, and she moves chess pieces around the house so she knows what time in, like, what year she's in. Like, she puts the queen, she moves the queen piece, sometimes in her pocket, and so she knows that's present day. If it's in the freezer, she knows that's blah, blah, blah. And it's all leading up to the end of the story where she accidentally shoots her boyfriend, and it's fucking heartbreaking because she's having the wrong memory. She's reminding of her ex-husband beating her or something like that. Or maybe she thinks it's one of the ghosts. I can't remember, but she ends up accidentally shooting her boyfriend because she's remembering the wrong thing because the queen was in the wrong spot. And it's like an absolutely perfect episode of television. It's so weird that it's in a show I didn't like, but it is like perfect. And I think it was for me, I kept thinking of that episode. But I did like this episode. I just wasn't, I didn't love it as much as Twitter did. But I still thought it was good. It's still a real, and that actress is so good. That definitely when, Owen, what does he say? When he yells at her, even though that's not even like the pinnacle of like dramatics, but when he yells at her and the way she reacts, I was like, don't yell at her. I'm upset.
The ending I just thought was like a what the fuck ending, you know?
At the end of that is when we see her die, right?
Yeah. And then I think what got me about that ending is connecting it to the first episode when she arrives at the house. Because I knew there was something there. We talked about that. Yeah. We said the way she comes on the property and meets people, like there's something we're supposed to pay attention to there. And it was just that she walks up and sees her looking down the well. Yeah. And she's looking at her body, and we just like didn't know for this whole time. It's just fucking crazy, man. But yeah, I don't know. And then I really enjoyed the last episode, but last episode is also on my worst list.
My least favorite was episode 8.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
So Lost, which is one of my favorite shows, so it's not. Lost did this with their penultimate episode where we get a flashback that stars Allison Janney, where she's like the mother of the smoke monster and it's like the man in black and the man in white, and she's the mother of these children growing up on the island that the man in black ends up being the smoke monster. And I fucking hate that episode, and it made me mad because I don't want to stop a series dead that close to the end. Lovecraft Country just did this with an episode starring Jamie Chung, and she acted the hell out of it. She was such a good actor, but I kept feeling like, boy, do I not care, because this has nothing to do, like, I get that it's going to, like, connect, but for me, I just have a lot of trouble caring if there's no characters that we've already seen in this. I have a lot of trouble with that with stories where suddenly we're placed into a different character's perspective with a totally different cast. Because I'm not watching the show for a new cast. I'm watching the show because I love what I'm watching. I'm trying to think. I know there's times when it's been done well, because Lost actually did have another episode told from the point of view of these side characters that everyone hated that I liked, called Nikki and Paolo. And they had an episode where it was just them, and they died at the end, and they're buried alive because people think they're dead, but they were like poisoned, where they were like paralyzed. They weren't dead. And the whole episode is showing how they fit into the show. They had been introduced, I think, the previous season, or maybe at the beginning of the season. Everyone hated them because they were just suddenly side characters that had a lot of lines. And I did like that. So I think it can be done in a way that I like. I just don't often like it.
Yeah.
And I just went on a big rant.
That's
Continue,
fair.
sorry.
Yeah, no. It's okay. He did not like this episode, everybody. The Romance of Certain Old Clothes. Written by Axel Carolyn, directed by Leah Fong. Yeah, no, so I think the criticism is fair. And I don't know, I was like super mixed on it. So I didn't not enjoy it, but I enjoyed it far less than every other episode in this series.
Especially because episode 7 ends on that crazy cliffhanger that I actually...
Which is what took it down like a bunch of notches for me. It was so oddly placed in the season because it was right before the series finale too. Like,
and right after a cliffhanger.
Put it somewhere else. Maybe make it a shorter flashback. Some way to make it shorter, because I wouldn't have minded it, but I don't think it needed a whole episode, because it really did like bog down that momentum that had been built up at that point, and I don't know. I sat there and it was some of the stuff was cool to watch, but I was really waiting on it to end. You know.
Well, especially
So
because we care about Danny so much, and to
yeah.
end that episode where it's like, ooh, like from what we saw with Peter, the lady in the lake, when she grabs your neck, you're dead, right? Like,
And her face when she grabs her neck, it was like it twisted into a death face, like that face from the Ring that everybody had whenever they would see her. That's the exact face she had. It was like,
yeah, I was like,
And
wait, so is
I
she
was
dead?
sure that she was fucking dead. I fucking thought so.
But
And
right,
then,
because with Peter,
yeah.
it was literally like she just grabbed his neck and then she walked and he was dead, right?
Yeah, he was done.
So I kind of thought, I was like, oh shit, she's like gotta be dead, but maybe she's gonna be a ghost and save the kids, which is what I kind of thought.
She dragged her a long way too. She like a couple up the stairs and everything. It was okay, not something I'd revisit. But then episode 9 again, on my best list, on my worst list, and just because what the fuck, man. Let's get into it. Let's get into episode 9. Okay.
So I don't
What do
love
you
an
think?
epilogue.
Okay.
I don't love
Okay.
an epilogue. But I did not like it. I don't know. I still am not sure how I feel about this, the way it ended. Because I really did like Danny. So I do like
Yeah.
that we got to see her still like have a happy life, kind of. I mean, not kind of. She was happy, but I mean, the fact that she was like always being like, "Fuck, is the lady in the water gonna come back?" I would feel like I would have a heart attack from anxiety with that. And the fact that like once she started seeing her, it was like, oh no.
It was we just yeah, no, I feel you. I mean, like the first 15 minutes of this episode is just the wrap up of that cliffhanger that we had. It goes by super quick, and then we have the rest as an epilogue. I do not mind an epilogue. I really enjoy epilogues, actually, especially if they're done well. Like the end of American Horror Story Asylum had like a 2-episode epilogue, and I thought it was I fucking loved it. Oh, I loved it.
But I do like that. I think
Okay.
that is the best season finale of American Horror Story. I will say that it almost doesn't feel like an epilogue because it is connecting everything, right? We're seeing, because like the Asylum had all these, it had like way too many different storylines, but like we wrap up the aliens, we wrap up the killer, we like she comes face to face with the killer, so it's an epilogue, but it's barely an epilogue because it's still like we're still like in the story and we're continuing the horrors or wrapping up the horrors. But I do think like that is really done really well.
At that point I loved Danny and Jamie so much, and I loved that they packed up and went to America. It was kind of weird how they decided to do that in the driveway at Bly Manor. Still, while nobody was asking if anybody knew Hannah was a ghost, but they're just like, you want to go to America, and they do, and everybody goes to America. And I mean, I don't know if they'd still be here in 2020, but
I guess what bothered me was that every happy scene that kept going, I was like, well, I know we're just waiting for her to die.
and that's what it was. Is I kept clicking my remote to see how much time we had left.
Yes, me too. Yeah.
Because I just wanted it to end on something happy. I really wanted it to be like she had this. She was like looking over her shoulder, and then she finally decides to stop looking over her shoulder. Sort of like she dealt with her grief in episode 4.
Yeah.
And it just didn't come. And then I kept looking at me, like pressing my remote, and it just I saw too much time there, and I was like, oh, fuck, man.
Yeah.
Like I know something is gonna happen. They look damn good for the amount of time that passed, though. It was like I think we were by the end of the 90s. When she
Really?
Yeah, it was either 90s or 2000s. And it was just they got a flower shop in. I mean, is that a trope? Lesbians with a flower shop?
They're living
I
a
don't
lesbian
know.
dream, but I don't know.
I don't know. We don't know lesbians. But they were so great together, Ian. And Danny was so happy. She found happiness. They both found happiness. And it just like... I tell you, the ending of this, I will never be able to watch this again. I really want to watch Bly Manor again, like in a year, maybe. I will never be able to watch this ending again because it sat with me. It is still sitting with me. It has lingered. And so... I mean, basically, the beginning of this episode.
Look at you, Zach. You're emotional. Aww. I love this changing places we're doing.
Goodness, I know, trading. No, but the beginning of this episode, so Danny allows the lady of the lake to come within her. She says I thought that was stupid. Her saying the lines like, "You, me, us." I don't know. So the lady in the lake is in her, and then it's just this ticking time. And I noticed when the storyteller was listing how many years went by, I kept thinking in my head six, because six was how many years, like, was it how many years I don't fucking know. It was 6 years played an important part in episode 8. And so I figured come 6 years, something was going to happen with Danny, and it did. Basically, Danny started seeing the lady in the lake again, like in every reflection. Every time she would look at herself, she would see the lady in the lake. And so Danny decides to go and kill herself because she wakes up one day and she's like about to strangle Jamie. And I guess she's gonna sacrifice herself to save Jamie and to save everybody else and put the lady in the lake to rest finally again. And Jamie, like, it's a weird moment where Jamie wakes up and then in the same clothes just hops on a plane and goes to Bly Manor and like shows up and dives into the lake and sees fucking Danny at the bottom of the damn lake. And we didn't even need to see fucking Danny, we didn't even need to see her like that. I thought that was way too much. I really like a depressing ending. Like, I'm a huge fan for a depressing ending. But I'm rambling, Ian. I'm rambling.
It's cute that you're emotional about this.
Because I just really loved them. I love them so much. But, okay, so let's just talk about this. Why break them up? Does it play into a harmful trope? Because I've seen a couple people talking about this here.
So Dana Pickley, who is a regular on my podcast, Slayer of S98, wrote an article about this, and she talks a lot about these kind of tropes, and she felt because they did get a happy ending, but it was a horror series that, like, they did have their happy ending, that it wasn't just like, she felt that the trope is more, you get your moment of happiness and then you die, and then your death propels someone else's plot. And her death ended the plot. Her death didn't propel a storyline. This wasn't like a gay character being murdered. It was a gay character with her own agency being like, I'm not going to let this horror happen. So I'm going to jump to the bottom of this lake so my wife doesn't get murdered. And I kind of felt like Dana felt. Watching it, I was like, ooh, are people going to be mad at this? But I kind of feel the same way Dana felt, that while I don't love that end, I agree with those sentiments.
Okay. And I'm like 50-50 on that. So
okay.
I'm one of those people who does 100% believe that, like, or not 100%, but I believe that, if you're going to do it to a straight couple, you can do it to a gay couple, because everybody should be equal, blah, 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 blah. But this happens so often with gay couples. The LGBT, like, any LGBT couple, like, it always has to end in tragedy. It happens so often that sometimes I'm watching something like this, and I just don't want that. I don't want that this time. I'm just like, this time, just give it to us, Let us have this time. And I don't know. I think I definitely understand where they were going with it, because the lady of the lake was there. She was waiting. She was waiting, and we knew she was waiting, and something was going to happen with that. It wasn't just going to be just a complete payoff. Something was going to happen. There was a consequence. Gift with purchase, like Anya says. So we were waiting for that, but I almost would have liked to see maybe a cliffhanger of the wait. Maybe she sees her and decides to I think you said that to me.
Yeah.
I think you said that to me, and I was like, that would have been a perfect way to end this. I think seeing her body down at the bottom of the lake was way too much. Way too much. Them face to face, Jamie face to face with her dead lover, way too much. And it just didn't. It wasn't needed. It felt unnecessary. But fucking Dana, yes, I agree with you. Because it is a horror show, and I agree with the point that it didn't propel anybody else's story, but it ended her own, and it ended the story of Bly Manor. I do wonder if, like, the lady in the lake, because technically she's just in another chest now. Is she doing the same things?
Well, no, but she would be in a chest in Danny's mind, and Danny's dead, so she can't get out.
I don't know if I buy that though. I don't know if I buy
But she
that.
wasn't, because she wasn't in the chest. She was at the bottom of the
Yeah.
water, but the chest helped her
Yeah.
kill. It was like her.
I don't
Whatever.
know. I don't know if I buy that. Lady of the Lake is just, put to rest now. I don't know if I buy that. But I did like, so this is a big part that I don't like about it, is that Jamie, by the end, we figure out that the storyteller that we've been hearing from this entire series is Jamie, the gardener, and fucking doesn't even get another love. Like, she doesn't get to move on. She, like, waits for her fucking lover for the rest of her damn life, it seems, Like,
Yeah.
so if you go back and watch the very first episode right after this ends, it immediately opens with Jamie, like, filling up the water and stuff because she's trying to get a look at Danny. She wants Danny to come to her. She wants to see Danny in the water. And she, like, leaves the door open so that Danny could come walking in if she needs to. And it just... she spends her life waiting.
Wait, was that the first episode? I thought that was in the last episode.
It was in both.
Oh,
So if you watch them back to back, if you go back and watch the first episode, it's that very first scene that you see.
Okay.
It's just it's sad, Ian. It's
Yeah.
just sad.
I mean,
It's
yes.
a depressing show.
Yes.
I don't know. I have a lot. This is one of those shows. So we're doing a series review right now. It's a show that I really have to sit with, and I'm probably gonna have different opinions about in a month. So
Yeah, I still feel like I'm not quite 100% on where I landed on how I
Yeah.
felt. I mean, I texted you and Alistair last night. Like, I don't know how I feel about this ending. Like, that was how... And I kind of still feel... I'm like, I don't know. I'm not like...
our text messages to each other were just all frantic. We were just yelling at each other and like, this is crazy. Oh my gosh. Also, I took a break and I'm about to start 5.
It's wild that we took the same break and started at the same time.
He's like, I just ate too. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Listen, we're
on
talking
two-
like all day, every day, so I guess that happens.
And we're on 2 different time zones though, so I think that's why it's a little extra impressive. You know what? Final thoughts. Let's just go into final thoughts. I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I think it's worth the watch. Even if I don't love the story, I think the quality of their storytelling, the quality of their acting is definitely top tier, right?
Yeah. No, I think so. I think that, if anything, the acting elevates it several notches.
And you can tell a lot of work and love was put into it
Yeah.
with the writing, with the acting, with the storytelling.
And production. Like, the visuals are they're beautiful. This is another beautiful show. And I actually enjoy the way this one was color graded a little bit more than Hill House. I'm not a huge fan of, like, the teal tint that a lot of filmmakers are using nowadays. And there's a lot of teal and orange in Hill House, and I don't like that. But this one, like, the colors are very natural, and I enjoy the visuals on this one a lot more. But
Also, well, crazy thing that you showed me that you
say
found.
it? Do it. Say it. I was mind blown.
That the whole house is CGI.
And do you know, when I looked that shit up, not long after that, she said it in the fucking show. She's like, if I wanted to go fly to Bly Manor, could I? And she's like, no, you couldn't. I'm like, no, you couldn't, because it doesn't exist. There is no Bly Manor. There's nowhere they filmed it.
But there's like, it's a house, but they have just a giant green screen.
I don't even know if it's a house or just a frame.
Oh, really?
Because it's just a property, and they filmed it in Canada. Vancouver.
But yeah, Zach sent me this
Yeah.
picture that's like just this giant green screen in front of the
You
grass.
watch this fucking show, and it does not look like a green screen house. It does not look like a CGI house. So
I mean, I guess that probably was easier for them, right?
Yeah.
Like that way they didn't have to set dress the house every time it was like a different
yeah.
time
But in
period.
Hill House, they used a real house. I'm pretty sure it was in Georgia. So I mean, but creating your own house is a lot better than having to find one that fits the script, right? I guess. And like, Canada's super cheap to film in, and everybody films in Canada. Yeah. So I mean, right after they're done filming Bly Manor, they do a Hallmark Christmas movie, and Candace Cameron rolls in with her fake snow and sexy Santa. That was crazy though. I did. That was like mind blowing. I don't know. I do think it is worth the watch, everybody. I think
Yes.
If you have
Absolutely.
not seen it and you've made it to the end of the spoiler review, maybe go watch it.
Then maybe it's not. I don't know. Just maybe now you know everything.
Now you know everything and you can save yourself the heartache. You don't have to watch all of that.
You don't have to be as upset as Zachary.
No, you don't. I should not be this upset.
Normally,
have
I am the emotional one, in case anyone hasn't picked up on that yet.
If you haven't seen Haunting of Hill House, also go watch that one. I didn't even say. I don't know. I don't think it matters which order you watch it in, but Hill House, I'd probably watch it first, just because it came out first. Mike Flanagan, good job, dude. Great job, fantastic. Also, I loved Doctor Sleep, so it's very. I can see who he is as a filmmaker watching his stuff, and I'm all about it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I can't wait till his next project, and I do hope they do The Haunting of something 3rd season. That is all we have for y'all today. Ian is so fucking ready to go. I can see it on his face. He's done. Okay. He is tired of me and y'all motherfuckers. Thank you guys so much. Oh, wait, you know what? Where can they find you, Ian? Carlos Crawford.
You can find me on social media at Ian X Carlos. You can find my podcast, SlayerFest98, on all social platforms at SlayerFestX98. You can also find the podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. Zachary, where can everyone find you?
Adventures of Zach and B on Instagram and YouTube. Adventures Z and B on Twitter. So, yeah, go follow us. Make sure you all subscribe or comment or like or something. Comment down below because I really want to hear what y'all are thinking about this show. If you've seen it,
Zach needs the comments.
we need the engagement. Alrighty. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your week. And go vote.
Bye.
Right.